Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another great spotlight session. Today we have Melanie Hazim, who is the Director of Outreach at the New Jersey Division of Consumer Law, right? Right,
Consumer
consumer laws.
affairs.
So it's called consumer affairs, right? Affairs, not laws. Affairs. There we go. So let me tell you a little bit about Melanie. Melanie joined the Division of Consumer Affairs in January of 2016. As the outreach director for the division, Melanie is responsible for implementing the division's missions and goals to protect New Jersey's residents from becoming victims of consumer fraud. Let's want it. She speaks to thousands of people across the state yearly as the main speaker for outreach events, educating all groups, including seniors, non-English speaking people, and other populations that can find themselves a target of scam artists. She also directs the New Jersey High School Consumer Bowl and works with her team to educate students across the state about consumer issues and scams they may face in their future in a fun game show setting. So let's all welcome Melanie to the call. Thanks for
Good
coming,
morning,
Melanie.
everybody. My pleasure. Thank you so much. Good
Morning.
morning. You might hear a good morning from my Louie too. He's my assistant here. He might pop into the back, so don't be alarmed. My big dog here. So thanks so much for taking the time this morning, folks. I heard you guys already talking earlier about this AI conference that you guys are attending. So I feel like there's probably stuff you could teach me. So I'm interested to hear what you guys have to add also. So again, thank you folks for having me. Excuse me, getting over a cold here. As you heard, my name is Melanie Hazim, and I'm proud to represent the Office of the Attorney General, and more specifically, my division is the New Jersey Division of Consumer Affairs. Hopefully, you guys have had some sort of interaction with consumer affairs, a positive interaction, of course. But if not, I want to tell you a little bit about what it is that we do, and then I'll get into really what our topic is today. As I mentioned, we're part of the Attorney General's office, so I'm sure you've heard of that office. We have a brand new Attorney General in the House as of January. Jennifer Davenport is her name, and she's our Chief Law Enforcement Officer for the state of New Jersey. So she basically oversees all the parts of our government. So some of the other ones that I'm sure you've heard of, if not consumer affairs, that are much more popular. Sorry, my dog is wrestling with me. Is our state police, highway and traffic safety, gaming and licensing. So for our Atlantic City fans or our horse racing fans, we oversee all parts with different bureaus, divisions, approximately 18 of them underneath the Attorney General's office, Division of Consumer Affairs being one of them. What we are tasked with is protecting all of us, protecting consumers in the marketplace. And we do that in several ways. The biggest part of what we do at the office is our professional licensing and registration. So I don't believe realtors fall under that. I think you're one of the very few folks that are not licensed through the state. But we license, for example, last year we licensed approximately 750,000 professionals across the state of New Jersey. We oversee approximately, I want to say about 50 professional boards. So that is anybody that you could think of that you ever have to hire. So whether that is something like a dentist, a doctor, a physical therapist, a family therapist, counselor, to acupuncturists, to home improvement contractors, plumbers, electricians, things of that sort. So a very wide range there of professions. In order for them to be doing business by the letter of the law in the state of New Jersey, they do need to be licensed or registered, depending on which profession we're talking about, through my office. So that's the biggest chunk of what we do. So as a consumer, we like for you folks to know, to think of us, to call us before you hire anybody. Before you don't think of hiring a nurse or a dentist, but you really are hiring these people. So definitely check with us to make sure that they are properly licensed. We can also tell you if there's been any complaints made on them in the last 2 years. And I'm sure over the years you folks have heard these wacky things actually do happen, where people will rent an office and practice a profession that they have no business doing, no business doing so. They'll, rent an office, slap some letters after their name, and they'll say that they're a family therapist. And then, years down the line, they'll find out that this person is complete baloney, And that's kind of one of the things we're trying to avoid, obviously. We also make sure that these people, we accept complaints to make sure that they're, upstanding. One of the recent ones I can remember is that we just removed the licensure of a veterinarian that was found to be just abusing animals, basically treating them terribly. So that's kind of the other watchdog side of what it is that we do. However, we can't do the work that we do protecting our consumers if we don't hear from our consumers. So a big part of my work is letting people know that we are the clearinghouse to accept those complaints. There is a place to bring that stuff. There is a place where our investigators and our attorneys will take that information, take a look at it, investigate, and figure out what is going on. Is there something wrong? And there's great days, like I said, where we take these people out of those professions. Okay, I mean, a veterinarian is one thing. We're talking about animals, but we can go as far as talking about doctors that are mistreating or even abusing their clients. So that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about that happens through consumer affairs. So that's the largest part of our office. The other part of what we do, and I find this fascinating, hopefully you've heard of them, is the Office of Weights and Measures. So they are a group of investigators that basically is tasked with traveling all across the state, and they make sure that any weighing or measuring device that you use in the course of a purchase is accurate, down to the penny, down to the T. So of course, most popular ones we could think of are gas pumps, right? That's always very important, the way the prices are nuts. We also make sure that things like scales in the grocery store are accurate. Laundry, dryers and washing machines are accurate. If I am a working person and I am, it's expensive to use the laundromat. When I can, do 2 loads of laundry, with $10 worth of quarters, I want to make sure that when I put my money in that machine, that it is giving me that drying time that the machine says it is, right? And it's interesting because a lot of times who thinks of that, who's watching out for us when we're spending our hard-earned money? Again, that goes back to the division. So I'm very proud of that. I find it fascinating. In your travels, if you haven't noticed before, please look now because they will be there. I promise you. Next time you fill up the gas, your tank of gas, or next time you pull up your shopping cart to get your cold cuts for the week, take a look at that scale. Take a look at that, that gas pump. There will be a blue and white weights and measures sticker on that device that says we've been there, and we give it basically it is our seal of approval. And if you don't see that, where you're spending your money and where you're shopping and things like that, that's definitely something to let us know as well. A recent story also happened in New Jersey. I think it was several of the local Whole Foods stores were found to be not accurate. And it could sound silly. It could sound like, okay, it's only 2 cents. It's only, 3 pennies here, 3 pennies there. But again, the collective is, imagine if every single one of us shops once a week and we are overcharged 3 pennies by the pound, and every single one of our family members does the same thing. At the end of the year, obviously, it ends up being a whole bunch of money that shouldn't be in their pockets. It should be in ours. So that's the kind of thing that Weights and Measures works on and looks at. And like I said, I find that fascinating. And then again, another one of our portions is what I'm doing today is our educational piece. We'd like to educate folks. Not only do we enforce the Consumer Fraud Act, which is kind of like our Bible, right? It's like a book that's about this thick, so we can't expect everyone to know it. But that's why we travel all over the state and try to educate folks and help them understand that there are a lot of rights that consumers hold. Unfortunately, what we see is a lot of times when we see scam artists and things like that, they are the ones that are aware of the law. So they know exactly how to skirt around these things. So what we have to do is educate ourselves, even if it's just that basic amount, to make sure that we are aware and we can keep ourselves safe. So as I said before, we accept complaints on the professionals that we license and register. Unfortunately, the areas in which we find the most complaints, we receive the most complaints are home improvement contractors, public movers, and then the other one is, we don't oversee them per se, but the largest area where we receive these complaints kind of like from the outside is our used cars. So, when they have all the car dealerships on the highway and stuff like that, always big issues. That's always the biggest issue. And I often feel for those folks because a lot of the times it's those young adults that are going out for the first time and buying their first vehicle. And there's a lot of fraud, unfortunately, that happens with that kind of stuff. So we see a lot of that. However, as I said, we can accept complaints on all of these folks. What happens when your complaint comes into my office is that it gets to our investigators and our attorneys that are specific to that section that you're talking about. So if we're talking about health clubs, right? You feel as though you've been scammed by a health club. It goes to that division, that department, I should say, and they determine through your narrative is what's happened. Does it cross one of our laws, our consumer laws, or is it just not nice? And folks, I'm sure you folks are familiar, obviously, with the law just because of what it is that you do, even if it's just a little bit. I am not a lawyer, but we know that the law is very tricky, and it's got to be just so. So sometimes we cannot say that the law has been broken, but when there's times where we can, that's when we go full force. We kind of go after them. Ultimately, what we can do to these folks is we can pull their license or their registration so they can no longer practice that profession legally. However, if a consumer doesn't know to look for those credentials before this professional is hired, it's kind of a wash. So that's a big part of my job here, is trying to educate folks. So please look into that before you sign any contracts, definitely before you hand over any money, definitely before you give them any checks, things like that, trying to avoid issues before they begin, really. So that's a recourse when we're talking about a professional that we license. What I want to share with you folks today is a little bit different. This concerns the scams that are coming to each and every single one of us through cell phones, through emails, still through snail mail, of course, text message, right? That's huge. I'm sure everybody on here received that text message from EasyPass that said we owe them a bunch of money, and if we don't pay them, our license is going to be revoked, or whatever it is, whatever the wording they use. I'm sure also everyone's received the text message that comes from UPS that says we have a package waiting for us, and please click here, and if we want speedier delivery or whatever it is. All these things, they're coming at us very fast. I do this lecture at least 3 times a week, and a week doesn't go by when someone does ask, well, can we stop these people? Are these people going to stop? And the short answer is no. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. Excuse me. They're just getting better with I call technology a blessing and a curse. And we live in 2026, and these folks have learned to really use these things for evil instead of good. We can only imagine where our world would be if all these brains focused on positive things, but that is not what they do. And so this is something that we have to, as much as we can, stay a step ahead of them. They work very hard to stay a step ahead of the good guys, as I call them. And so we have to do the same thing. As much as, as for example, our telephone companies and our Yahoo and our Google and all these companies are working to give us options to help us protect ourselves, they're working just as hard to figure out how to break down those systems and how to get through anyway. So these are the kind of things that we want to remember. But generally speaking, I could be on here for hours talking about all the scams if I had to name them individually, so we won't do that today. But what I like to do is give a little bit of an overview instead, and more of a general kind of 2 umbrellas of the scams. If you folks ever have a moment and this stuff interests you as much as it does me, AARP is a wonderful website. They've got a great section where they delve into scams deeply, and what I love about what they do is that they delve into the psychology of scams, because this whole thing is very psychological, that the way that they work. I have seen scam victims from all walks of life, from all ages, from all economic levels, from all educational levels, right? People think that victims are quote unquote stupid, and that is not the case. These scam artists are very savvy. They're very tricky. They're professional liars and they're professional actors. And folks really, I guess, I don't think they understand the severity of it, and they don't understand how true and how real these things can be. And I often tell folks, even me, I do this, like I said, many times a week. And if the scam is right, if the situation is perfect, and I don't practice my things that I'm trying to share with you folks, it could even happen to me. It very well could. So people think, "Oh, that would never happen to me. That's ridiculous." I'm here to tell you, I think twice. Another great thing that AARP offers is a fantastic podcast. It's called The Perfect Scam. And it's fascinating. Every single episode is a standalone story about a different person, just like you and I, normal, regular person, smart enough, nothing, no issues like that. And they have become a victim of a scam, and they walk you through the whole story on how it happened. So that's really, really eye-opening and very interesting. I listen to those often. Many times I'm traveling. Today, fortunately, I'm allowed to be here in my living room, but when I drive, I'm constantly listening to a podcast like that. So the scams, as I said, telephone, text message, email, okay? Again, there's a million of them. They will be changing daily. No matter what is happening in our outside world, someone's going to pick up on it and make a scam out of it. Next natural disaster that occurs, your scams are going to start popping up. People are collecting money for the victims, et cetera, et cetera. So these are scams that are evergreen, right? They're always going to come up just with a different mask. And so that's also something very important to remember. So my two general ones that I like to share with folks. I think mostly every scam that's going to cross your path is going to fall under one of these. And if not, please shout out so I can add it to my my repertoire here. So the most popular one I see, the most popular theme I see with our scams is our fear-based scams. So simply put, the tool that is used to exploit us is the tool of fear. Okay, whether the fear is fear for our own safety and our own security, or fear of a dear loved one of ours. Okay, so some obvious examples for you would be, and here we are in tax time, is that good old IRS scam, right? The IRS is calling you. Lots of times now, I sent all my unknown numbers to voicemail, so now they'll leave a voicemail, or they'll even text, who knows. And the IRS is calling you. You owe a bunch of money from 1990, and if you don't pay them before the end of the day or before the close of the month, the sheriff will be at your front door. You will be arrested. Legal action will be taken, et cetera, all these sorts of things. Okay, so again, the tool of exploitation is fear. You're in trouble. Who wants to be in trouble with the IRS? Absolutely nobody, right? Nobody wants to be in trouble with these huge entities that handle large portions of our of our life. And so the idea is you will be fearful enough, basically do whatever it is they're asking you to do, even if it's something as small as call us back at this number. That's step one. And so to back up, these are the little things that some people actually still don't know. And that kind of may sound crazy to some of us, but the IRS will never call you. All right. So it's right there off the bat. That's something that it may seem obvious to us, but maybe some folks don't know that. So I always tell people the things say that you've heard, even if they sound obvious, please turn around and share them. So the IRS will never call you. We know that kind of thing. The IRS or any legitimate company, entity like that will never call you and threaten you, right? They're not going to call you and tell you, the cops are coming for you. The police will be there. The sheriff's going to come get you. Another thing, in the heat of that moment, in that they call it that fear puts us in a state of ether. So our rational thought escapes. It goes out the window. We tend to forget that if the police were actually coming for us, we wouldn't be warned, right? That's not the way that they work. They work with the power of surprise. And so something like that, again, these things that are rational, that are normal, that we can obviously understand as we're sitting here calmly, just disappear when the situation is presented to us. To back up, to begin, if all I had was 10 minutes and we had to go right now, I should have started with this. The first thing I like to tell folks, hopefully all of us here on the call practice this. If not, let's please start. For some folks, it's harder than others because it's a hard habit to break. But I tell people all the time, if you don't know the number that's calling you, simply do not answer the phone. Start with screening your calls because, like they said, I've heard before, when it's raining, what can we do? We can't do anything. We have to come inside and close the windows. Same kind of idea with these scam calls. They're going to keep coming. So we have to discipline ourselves and learn to stop answering. I don't want people out there to try to scam the scammer. I don't want them to, they say a lot of people, well, if I pick it up, I'm going to take their time and they're not going to be talking to someone else. That is true, but we really don't realize how much information we give out when we try to do these sorts of things that could very well be used on us for a different scam tomorrow. So I would advise against that kind of thing. I hear that a lot. So back to our fear-based scams. So again, just to reiterate, the tool of exploitation is fear. Another very popular one is, I mentioned earlier, our Easy Pass, right? Of course, who wants to get their license revoked? Everybody needs their driver's license. Again, the fear is there, so it's going to cause you to react. It's going to cause you to jump up, go make that payment, make that phone call, whatever it is. Back to the IRS scam, another very clever little nuanced things that they've figured out, right? They're going to tell me I owe them $5,000. If I pick up the phone and I call them, they're going to say, but we have a great special happening today, a great program. If you just pay me $500, we're going to forgive the entire debt. So what do I think? I think I'm getting a great deal. And I say, I gladly give over that $500 and I feel relieved. And then I realize, oh my gosh, that whole entire thing was a scam. So these little things that they do to really suck us in, and unfortunately what I hear about most is that people don't understand until, like they say, the Monday morning quarterback. You say, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I fell for that. So the kind of things that I want people to think about is practicing a pause. That's very, very important. Like they say, don't, before you send that angry email, pause. Before you react, pause. Same idea when we're talking about scams, because nothing that is legitimate, I don't think, has to be taken care of instantly in that moment. And you'll see another one of the pieces that they add is when they make your window of opportunity very, very small. So you have less time to think, less time to react, less time to verify, and you just go for it. And that's definitely one of their big characteristics. Another fear-based, hopefully we've all heard of the grandparent scam, right? So the phone rings, and if it's a gentleman that picks up, they're going to say, Grandpa, it's me. If a woman picks up, they're going to say, Grandma, it's me. And at that moment, that's that split-second moment where, as I said, we give out more information than we realize. Typically what happens when I hear of stories of people that have become sucked in by this scam is that if someone says, Grandma, it's me, immediately the grandma offers a name. Jenny, is that you? Joey, is that you? Right? Instead of being on the defense, instead of taking that pause, instead of saying, wait a second, I need this person on the phone to prove to me who it is that they are. I'm not going to give them this information. And again, same idea. Someone you love dearly is in trouble. The fear arises, and you think, I need to do whatever I can to help this person. Of course, lots of times the scam artist strikes out because that person happens to not have a grandchild, or their grandchildren are infants, or whatever it may be. So, of course, those are great opportunities, or I love to hear those stories when we're talking about the scam artist. But I also remind people, well, what happens? They hang up the phone, and they just call the next person. Okay, they just keep trying and trying. These people are going up to bat 1,000 times a day. And of course, with the gift of technology, it's not even picking up the phone anymore, right? It's a matter of hitting a button, and thousands of texts, thousands of calls can go out, in seconds, however it is. The grandparent scam, again, that fear-based, it's going to get you to motivate you to give money. And I tell people, even in the advent of AI and all this technology that is coming at us, there are still ways that we can outsmart these systems. So I recommend and encourage folks to sit down with their families, have a real conversation. Let's talk about our code word. What's our secret phrase if there is ever an emergency and something like this is necessary? No matter how smart voice cloning and AI gets, I don't know if they're going to be able to guess that, when we're sitting at the dinner table, we decided that our secret word is, Charlie Brown. So there are ways around this stuff. It's just that we do have to realize that there are and think about it instead of just throwing our hands up and saying, it's all over. There are still ways to outsmart these systems. So that's our fear-based. Our other sort of scams are our excitement-based scams. And again, those are basically lottery-based, those lottery scams. You've won, you won a cruise, you won a minivan, you won a Disney vacation, whatever it is. Any of these things, again, that other human nature, that other human piece, that other feeling of excitement. Oh my gosh, it's finally my turn. That's the part that's the tool that exploits humans on the other side. Why does it work on so many of us? I firmly believe that everybody wants to win. And I think that's a human nature. I think that's a part of each of us. And every time when I drive into my office in Newark and I see a billboard the size of this room that says the Mega Millions are 100 and 50 million and 400,000 and stuff like that. That's proof to me because, like they say, we all have a dollar and a dream. And so scam artists know that, and they're going to go after that because they know that's one of those basic human primal level things that we all are after. And they'll call us and they'll tell us these amazing stories, promises of, again, riches, prizes, vacations, things like that. My favorite story that I've heard many, many years ago, it was a gentleman that talked to me after one of my meetings, and he said he received a phone call and he was told he won $80,000 in the Canadian lottery. And so my first question to him was, did you enter this lottery? And he said, I couldn't remember. I have no idea, but I wanted to see if I could cash in. So I let the guy talk. I said, okay, great. What happened? He said the scam artist was on the phone, was very professional, very well-spoken, kind, personal. I mean, the top of the line kind of salesman, you would say. And he was thrilled for the gentleman, and he said, you've won $80,000. We're so happy to call you and let you know we picked your name out of thousands of submissions. However, we need you to claim your prize within the next 2 hours, or we'll have to go to the next person. Again, that time is cut short, and you've got to make the decision now, right? That's a huge flag. So the person said, great, what do I do? And the scam artist said, okay, well, all you need to do is go down to the local Walgreens, and I need you to send me $1,400 with a gift card. I need you to send that to me on a gift card because that's going to make that money get here immediately, so I can guarantee that we can send you those winnings, before the close of business today. Whatever it is, any kind of story was made up. He said the money is to release the funds through taxes and fees, and then we can gladly send your money out to you. It'll be, at your doorstep tomorrow morning, et cetera, everything you could think of. Fortunately, this gentleman, without skipping a beat, turns right around, and he says to him, well, why don't you just take the $1,400 out of my $80,000 and send me the check, the difference in the check. And I guess the scam artist was taken aback, so I guess he wasn't that great. Excuse me. He basically turned around and hung up the phone. So this is what we're talking about being just aware, alert, cautious, practicing the pause, trying to keep our rational thought with us, because sadly, that's exactly how a lot of these people get taken. And so I always love that story. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people say that's a great story, but then I try to remind folks, like I said earlier, the scam artist just hung up the phone and he called the next person because they are out there and they are, again, casting that wide net. Also, with the gifts of technology. I have a dear friend that this just happened to, actually. And she received a phone call. She said that her bank was calling her, and they told her that there was unusual activity with her bank account. They saw it associated with, oh my gosh, the internet. What is the phrase I'm thinking of? Not the black market. I can't think of the phrase, but they found her account information
on the dark web.
Dark web. Thank you. That's what it was. They found her information on the dark web. I mean, they well, the whole story, and they have to investigate her funds. So in order to do that, they need to move her money to keep it safe from these criminals. So if anyone ever tells you you have to move your money to keep it safe, obviously it's a scam. She was not aware, and she gave up all her information. Long story short, she basically gave up access to her entire life savings. I'm not sure where that story stands today because, unfortunately, as we mentioned earlier, the law is tricky. First of all, if banks had to make up for all the money that was taken from scam artists, they would be in worse shape than they already are. There is no way that bank can say, okay, I'm so sorry that happened to you, here's your money back, because that just doesn't work that way. Also, what's very sad is that the truth is, even though it was theft by deception because she gave up that information, again, through deceptive practices, the truth is she willingly gave up that information. It's not something that the bank disclosed, so they couldn't be held responsible for that. I'm sure she's going through things right now. I don't know where that will land. I mean, I heard of one friend who became a victim of a scam. It was like $800, and the bank was nice enough to give them back about half. But we're talking probably about $100,000, not $800. So I don't know where that falls. But the problem again with that is when I talked to my friend later, she came to me and she said, "Well, how did they know I was a Chase Bank customer?" And I said, "Well, that's exactly it. They didn't know. You told them. When they said Chase Bank, you said, oh, okay, great." So again, we give out more information than we realize. Tomorrow they're going to call and they're going to say Bank of America. The next day they're going to call and they're going to say they're Santander, whatever other bank you could think of. And this is just how they work. It's a numbers game for them. And unfortunately, they're very successful. Odds are, I walk into a room full of people, I like to tell them approximately 50% or more of you have become a victim of a scam at one point or another. And it's crazy, and it's actually the sad reality, but this is the world we're living in. As I said, and I always say that technology is a blessing and a curse. Technology allows us to meet right here, where, all over the state where we are. But it also allows these scam artists to come right into our living rooms from wherever they are in the world. I mean, there's obviously scam artists all over the United States, but as we know, they're located globally. And so they could be sitting in their kitchen table, at their kitchen table in Russia, accessing our bank accounts right from where they stand. It's very comfortable. People don't have to go out in the street anymore with a weapon to rob people. They can sit behind a computer screen and do it. It's a very clean way, to do these sorts of things. It's very, very unfortunate, That's the state of the world. And again, what can we do? Is things like this, educate ourselves. What I've learned mostly over the last 10 years of doing this kind of work is that people don't understand the importance of educating ourselves and learning about the way that these things work until it's too late, until it's already happened to them or it's happened to somebody that they love and care for, right? Typically, of course, as we know, seniors are the number one target, but this can happen to anybody. I like to also remind folks that if I didn't say earlier, our information is everywhere, right? So privacy, again, that's another thing. Privacy is a myth in 2026. So unfortunately, there's very little we can do about that. But what we can do is we can try to figure out and learn about what that does expose us to. So people often ask me, well, what about Publishers Clearinghouse? Is that a scam? My personal opinion is that it's a reputable company. One person does win that minivan or that check, one person, just like the odds in the lottery. But what instead they are, I believe, is a marketing company, and they're collecting data, collecting information. That's how they make their money, because our information is valuable. They can collect all of that, and they turn around in those little fine prints where we sign up for that magazine subscription or that set of plates. It says that our information is now theirs. Do with what they will. And it's simple marketing. It's all legal because it's in fine print, about that big. And they turn around and they package and they sell our information. And good companies, reputable companies, excuse me, buy that information. But so do bad companies and nefarious companies. And the list that goes for top dollar coming from these data collection agencies, these lead lists, as they're called, the lead list that goes for top dollar is that of seniors, because they want to get after seniors the most. They believe that's where the nest egg is. Of course, we are not robots. We are human beings. And as we age, our faculties deteriorate. It's a natural thing. Unfortunately, it will happen to most of us, if not all of us. And that's another thing that these folks target. It's evil. And yet another thing that happens a lot of times as we grow older, sometimes people turn into what we call shut-ins, and they don't have family, friends, a support system. And those folks, they find themselves being very lonely. And when that phone rings, it's a welcome distraction. And that's also a very dangerous thing. So I always like to remind folks, please think of these people in your lives, in your communities, in your neighborhoods that may be that shut-in and may need a little help or, a kind word here or there, a check-in, because those folks are super, super susceptible to becoming victims. And again, over the years, I've met so many folks that have fallen into these sort of traps. One of the most recent ones I did, it was some awful story, and I just had to tell the woman, just disconnect that phone and get a new phone number and stop answering the phone. I mean, these people would not stop calling her. She'd given them thousands of dollars over the years, about hundreds of thousands probably over the years. And so what was my immediate help suggestion for her was disconnect that number, get a new phone number. I hope they don't find you, and stop talking to them. Stop, stop, stop. I mean, it's just awful. But that's my general overview. I'm happy to send some links. Pardon me, folks. I'm happy to send some links over to you, Lawrence, about a lot of the topics that we talked about on our website. It's njconsumeraffairs.org. There's a lot of resources. This is Keller Williams, so we're talking about realty. We actually have an entire packet that we'd love to share with our realtors that is a great handoff for you to share with new home buyers, talking about all sorts of scams that they may be susceptible to. So I'm going to send over a few of those. And again, a lot of resources on our website. It could be a little tricky to maneuver. So if you're looking for something specific, please feel free to contact me directly. Lawrence, feel free to share my contact info with the group if there's any specific questions that you may be looking for. And again, not only do we offer these lectures online, which was so welcome to be able to do this from my home, Lawrence, thank you so much today. But we travel all over the state. We are a statewide agency, so tomorrow or Monday I'll be in Atlantic City. Sometimes I'm in Sussex County, so feel free to call upon us and have us come down and speak to any other groups that you're a member of. And what we say at the division is please take advantage of us before someone takes advantage of you. So that is my story for this morning, folks.
That was great. Definitely lots of information, definitely lots of eye openers. I had came across their booth when I was at Triple Play, and I had a lovely conversation with the lady that was there. And we just started talking about, different laws and frauds and people being taken advantage of and things like that. And I thought this was a good session to remind us all to stay more vigilant when it comes to dealing with scams and things like that, because we get phished all the time with all types of phishing emails and texts and phone calls and all types of other things like that. So this is just a good reminder for us to stay on top of all of the stuff that we go through as far as potentially getting scammed ourselves and keeping our clients informed on what's going on in the scammer world as well. Joe, you have a question?
Yeah, Lawrence, to piggyback off what you said is that we are targets as real estate
Mm-hmm.
agents. We are out there, we're marketing ourselves, our services, and of course our company. So we are really solid targets for anybody to scam on us. You
Mm-hmm.
could do whatever you want on a do not call list. You're still going to get the call. There's no question about it. Melanie, great presentation, by the way, too. So here's what I'll tell you guys that we really need to be cautious about. A lot of you guys are recommending contractors that are not licensed. If they're not licensed, they're not insured. God forbid that guy falls off a ladder and he's fixing a whatever, and then he's going to sue. He's going to sue the homeowner. Great, they have homeowners insurance. Yes, you have E&O insurance, but I will tell you what, deep pockets are going to be Keller Williams Cornerstone Realty, and it's going to be you too. So before you recommend any contractor out, and movers especially too, you mentioned that earlier, Melanie. There's been a whole scam with movers that continues to go on with this, but and I know I had a family member that worked in your division for a number of years, so I'm very familiar with that. But you guys need to refer out or confirm that they are licensed and insured. And if they're not licensed, do not refer them out. And if you got your seller says, "Hey, I got an electrician that could do this repair for me," okay, is he licensed and insured? Well, he's my Uncle Joe. Hey, listen, that doesn't cut the mustard. It doesn't. So I'm just telling you guys, be very, very cautious because you could easily get sued, and I've seen it happen before. And if we're not
Mm-hmm.
thinking smart, then we're going to be in trouble. We're really going to be in trouble. So,
I agree. I absolutely agree. We are definitely on the high target list of scams and scammers because we are always looking for the next lead. So somebody can send you an email and say, "Hey, I'm a buyer looking to look at a place in 123 ABC Street," and you show up there, and it's a whole different type of ball game. So we have to be very diligent when it comes to working with people, even pre-qualifying your clients that you're gonna work with. Like, are they who they say they are? Are they giving you the right information? I know last year we had an agent who was dealing with some clients, and it turns out that they were giving them false information. The driver's license they were using were false. They were signing false documents. They had a false pre-approval letter. everything about the whole situation was fraud. And they were this close to closing on a deal, and everything, it finally came to fruition when they reached out to the lender for the funding. And the lender's like, I don't even know who these people are. And then everything blew up, and those people disappeared. So you could even go after them for anything. You don't even know who they are. So, we have to definitely be mindful about what's going on as far as these scammers, because like Melanie pointed out, these scammers are professionals. Okay, this is what they do. They are experts. They are actors. They are everything. Okay, and they wake up every morning and say to themselves, "Who's my next target? Who's my next scam?" Now imagine being that person. I would feel like crap every day, um, but they don't. They look at it as the next opportunity, the next, cash cow, whatever they're going to be doing. So it's more on us to stay on top of these things, and at the same time keeping our clients informed on the best practices to make sure they don't get scammed. So, I think that this all goes hand in hand.
And who how many times are you at an open house and people walk in? Are they
Mm-hmm.
legit or not?
Mm-hmm.
And you start to question it because if you're in the house and you're not securing the house in reference to the valuables, you're with one couple, one woman over here, and the husband's upstairs picking the pockets of the jewelry box. So you got to be cautious about that. How many times have you guys getting? I get it pretty much every day. I get, oh, I have leads to give you. Just pay
Mm-hmm.
me this. And if you guys are not getting it, then you're not doing enough business. So I'll tell you that right now. But those are out there all the time, and if we're not aware of that for ourselves, then we're missing the boat in reference to that too. So, but we are definitely targets in reference to that. Melanie, can you repeat, or at least Lawrence, get us the New Jersey Consumer Affairs.gov? Is that the site?
It's njconsumeraffairs.gov.
Okay, and you're going to send Lawrence information that could send to us. That's going to be more real estate related.
Yes, we have a whole packet. I'm so glad that Lawrence, that you mentioned that that's where you found us, because that's something new that we started doing. We just figured it was a perfect meetup, a hand in hand to work with you folks in this field. So we have an entire packet that we put together for new home buyers. Again, targeting those specific scams. So movers is definitely in there. How to pick, best practices on how to hire a home improvement contractor, things of that sort.
So, Melanie, you said you're doing this at home now, but you'll go from place to place to place to do this to
Oh
make this
yes, we
present.
travel all over.
Okay.
They give me a nice vehicle, so I don't have to. I have no
Okay.
excuses. I can make it everywhere. Literally, there's days where I drive 2 hours to do a lecture. So yes, this is part of what I do.
So I live in a 55 and over community, and I know you're saying, Joe, you don't look like you're 55, but that's a different story, okay? So being that being said, there's about 300 plus homes in my 55 and over neighborhood. There's three or four of them around me that are also 200 and 300. I would love to talk to you offline in reference to setting something up to doing something in the clubhouse for seniors. We've had the police department, our local police department, come over. They're talking about the security aspects of your home, but not really talking about the scamming the way you're talking about it. So I'd love to have that conversation and get some information from you. So whatever you can provide to me to get back in touch with you, be appreciated.
Certainly, that's something that we do often. We always do like clubhouses, even religious groups, social clubs, anything of the sort. Be happy to come down. Where are you located?
Warren County, Washington Township.
Oh, you're my neighbor. I'm in Sussex County.
Oh, okay. Well, you're my neighbor. How's that? So,
That for me, just an example. That's close by for me. That's a
okay,
short ride
perfect.
for me. So
How
yeah.
many how many investigators do you guys have?
Oh my gosh. Oh, across all of our different divisions, our different departments. Ah, gosh. I guess a good guess would be 400.
Okay. All right. So there's because there seems like there's a lot of fraud out there, a lot of scamming. And I'm saying if there's only 50, that doesn't seem like there's enough. So you guys are staying
Oh,
pretty
no,
active then.
and you know what? There's still not enough. There never could be enough. But yes,
Yeah.
yeah, we are very, very busy. All different divisions. I mean, we have the halal division. They have to make sure that the folks that do halal food are doing the right thing. As I said, health clubs, um, the weights and measures with the pricing. Folks are always going out and making sure that the prices are accurate. We have a whole different what do we call it? During the summertime, we go down and we make sure that everyone down on the boardwalk, all those shops, that they have their pricing that's accurate, following the laws. Are they selling any toys to children with lead? Are they selling things that will, like lighters that look like toys, all sorts of stuff? A task force. It's called the Summertime Task Force. And we go and check all the stores on the boardwalk and we, say, surprise, we're here. Are you doing the right thing? So there's a lot of moving parts. So throughout the year, we have different initiatives that we do. Yeah.
Did you guys have anything to do with that dentist that was posing, the woman that was posing as a dentist did the root canal and then just got recently caught? That was one of those.
Absolutely. If she got her license, suspended, taken away, that was absolutely us. Yes.
How is the next door neighborhood? Is that safe to get contacts from? Next door neighbor.
I know the next door site. So I'm not here to endorse any websites, of course. So I'll say that everything is buyer beware. But what I can say is I don't know if next door, Annie's List, none of those sites, to my knowledge, use the records that I'm asking you folks to access. So they don't double check people's registrations or license. They don't double check that these people are insured. So unfortunately, the work lies on us to take those extra steps. I mean, like, even if I'm going to work with a contractor and they give me their insurance paperwork, I need to ask for their license and registration number, I should say. It should be on the side of their truck. That's part of the laws as well. And on any paperwork they give me and on any business cards they give me. So I can go ahead and do that independent research. But I have to take that second step also and not only get their insurance company, but contact that insurance company to make sure that that insurance policy is active and valid, because insurance costs a lot of money. And lots of times people will say, oh, this is valid, and they just put a little whiteout on the date. And you need to call and make sure that that's active, because if it's not, as someone mentioned earlier, that's going to be a problem to you. So as far as next door, Annie's List, or whatever those things are called, I guess those are good places to start, but that's not going to excuse that extra couple of steps that I'm asking you folks to do anyway, because they're not endorsing them for, professionalism. That's a person. Those are sites where anybody can get on and make a post and say, this person was great. This person was great. It could be my 20 cousins making posts about how great my plumbing work is. And I can have no credentials at all. So definitely, there's a lot more steps than just going on to a next door or going on to an Annie's List. Big time.
Thank you.
Does
You're welcome. Great question. Thank you.
Doesn't a license start with three letters like HFU or something like that? What is it?
The license has to start with VH.
VH.
VH, and that's something silly. The person who started that years and years ago, those were her initials.
Oh, okay.
So that doesn't mean anything, but it's just VH. She wanted her initials to be part of it, and nothing. There's no magic behind that.
You'll see a plumber says license, it'll say license number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I'm like, well, wait a minute, it doesn't have the VH in front of it. Or are you really licensed with the state? Another question: are home inspectors required to be licensed or required to have licensing with the state of New Jersey?
I believe so. I believe home inspectors are one of the professions that we oversee through our almost like I can't remember which board it is. I want to say it falls under construction. I want to say, I'm not certain. That is a great question. If I want to look into that for you, and I don't want to give you a final answer just yet.
I just heard from our title guy. He just overheard the question. He goes, yes, and it's regulated by, what'd you say, Ron?
It's done by the construction division of the.
It's done by the construction division, and there's education requirements that they have to go through in order to keep their license active. So similar to us, I would say.
Yes, so difference between a license and a registration. That's another nice point. Another fun fact. It's just like when you drive, you need a license. You have to test for it. So plumbers and home, as you just mentioned, these inspectors. You have to test every few years or whatever to make sure your knowledge is on the up and up. A registration would be somebody like a nail technician or maybe a hairdresser, where you just have to say, this is me. I've done the schooling. I can practice this profession, and I get a little certificate to stick on my wall at my salon. So that's the difference.
Yeah, Google says home inspectors are required to be regulated by the DCA under the Home Inspection Advisory Committee.
Okay, so there's a specific advisory committee. Forgive me, there's
Yep.
so many. So yes,
Yep.
but I do know that they are
That's Google, but it
regulated
could be
under us.
scamming. It could be scamming for
It
all
could be
we know.
scanned. Awesome. Awesome. Does anyone else have any more questions, comments, concerns? I think this was a very informative session.
Just a quick comment, Lawrence. Remember, we were getting messages, somebody posing as Raj, our broker, asking for gift cards last year.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think some new agents basically thought it was serious. Like the message stated that, hey, this is Raj, your broker from Keller Williams. I'm at a conference. I need you to go get me some gift cards and blah 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 and all that stuff. So yeah, just kind of wanted to point out. Sometimes
And
ignorance
Yeah.
plays in.
I want to thank
and that was
I want to thank everybody for those gift cards, by the way. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, and that was a really big problem last year because we were receiving, and it wasn't just that one about the gift cards. There were multiple ones that they were using Raj's name because it's public record that you can see who the broker of record is and things like that. So they can say, "Hey, I'm Raj. I'm going to use and I'm going to send this to all the agents in that office because our email addresses are just, out for the world to see." So, it was good that we caught it when we did, and everybody was like, why is Raj asking me for gift cards? Because we all know Raj isn't going to call you and ask you for a gift card for any reason.
And the gift card in general, a gift card ask in general is always a red flag. If anyone's ever asking, I always have to tell people, if anyone's trying to do business with you or asking you for gift cards, you should always, always, always do that verifying before you send anything, because there's a reason they want gift cards, because gift cards are like cash.
Right.
And once I read the numbers off the back of that card to you, that money's siphoned off and it's gone.
Right.
So that's why it's a perfect gift. It's a perfect way to interact with scam artists. So anytime anyone says gift card, think twice, think three times.
Agreed. Awesome. Anyone else have any questions? I think we're all good to go. I think I've gotten the most information I could possibly get. I will be also reaching out to Melanie again to get some more information from her that I can share with all of you. And we will welcome her back periodically to give us some more updates on what's going on in the consumer affairs area so that we can all stay up to date on what's going on. So welcome our new office friend, Melanie Hazim.
Thank you.
I'm so glad
Thank
you
you
found
so
us.
much,
Thank you very much,
Melanie.
Lawrence. And again, please feel free to share my contact information with anybody that needs. I'm easy to reach on email because I'm usually on the road. But please feel free. And Joseph, I look forward to hearing from you and visiting you out in Warren County.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Have a great day, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Okay.
you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Melanie. Thanks.